haven't seen a lot of? I haven't seen a lot of really good found footage, American home video analog horrors lately. I'm waiting for someone to prove me wrong in the comments. That usually happens every single time I make statements like this, but nonetheless, I haven't seen a lot, right? So when I became aware of the existence of McKinney Family Home videos, I kind of went, it was actually Rob Gavigan's video on the subject that got me really pumped up, got me really jump-started for this series. Now, I will admit I did not watch all of his video yet because I didn't want, my ideas, my theories to become, meshed with his, like this weird, disgusting chimera. I didn't want that to happen. So this is just going to be my iconic opinion that everyone cares so much about. So with that out of the way, do check out his video. It's very good based on the first 5 minutes of it that I watched. It's very good, can confirm. And then also go watch the original series. I'm gonna have all of those links down below in the description. Now let me shut the fuck up and let's get started. Starting out right away, it's immediately obvious that this series takes place sometime in the 90s based on the VHS camera being used and the title of the video. This brought back so much nostalgia for me as an older Gen Z that had most of their childhood videos filmed on an old camcorder and also simultaneously lost to time because it was filmed on an old camcorder. Yeah, maybe that was for the best, actually. Never mind. The guy seems to be filming this video for a family member or close family friend of his, and he's basically just showing them the new house that he and his family are about to move into. Things start off pretty normal until he makes his way over to the side of the house, where he finds that the protective screen on one of the windows was intentionally removed. Someone was trying to break in. Of course, in typical Family Guy Peter Griffin fashion, he ignores this and carries on with the HGTV tour. As he continues, he makes an interesting remark about how the realtor told him that nobody had lived in the house for quite some time. Making his way over to the front door of the house, he notices yet another very obvious red flag. What I'm assuming was once the doorbell was intentionally removed, leaving behind exposed wires. Why the doorbell specifically, I have no fucking clue, okay? I mean, it's not like he'll need a doorbell anymore if people are just climbing in through the window. Just pointing out the obvious here. Here he explains to the supposed friend or family member that while they don't have a guest room, they can make arrangements for them to visit sometime. Now here he says that he's sure that the kids would love to see grandma sometime, indicating that this is probably his dad that he's talking to. As he continues flexing the most 90s looking house known to man, he makes his way over to my favorite part, the creepy basement. Yummy. I bet there's mold down there. And probably rats. Here he mentions that the previous tenants, I'm assuming this was him misspeaking and that he meant previous homeowners, but regardless, he says that the previous tenants also left a bunch of their stuff in the basement and that he's still sorting through all of it. When he arrives at a wooden vanity, he discovers that an old wedding photo was left stuck to the mirror, not exactly the type of thing that someone would just casually leave behind. Right as he's wrapping up the tour, the phone suddenly starts to ring. He puts the camera down, for some reason all the way down in the basement, and seems to forget to turn it off. Here we can hear him have a conversation with what I can only assume is someone he met in the local community, and the whole time we are forced to just stare at this slightly distorted image of the wedding photo. Here he explains that his wife is out and his kids are at his mom's house, and that he and his family had a good time attending the local church. He says that while he and his family aren't religious, his mother is, and despite having had some personal issues with her, she was the one that recommended that they go to that church. He tells the person on the phone that they really enjoy the service and will get to see them at church the following weekend before hanging up. And interestingly, at one point during the conversation, it kind of seems like the guy on the phone is trying to pressure him and his family to become more heavily involved in the church, or at least that's hinted at, in my opinion. More on that later. And obviously, it's also heavily implied that the church has something to do with what happened to the married couple in the photo, and that's also another thing I'm going to touch touch on in a bit. And I also want to point out the description in the video. It says the following: the last time we were happy. Gee, I wonder what happened. I hope nothing bad happened to these people. This next video is titled Bible Study 1996. At first, it seems to be nothing more than the family filming around together outside at some sort of farm. Next, we can see that the camera is filming from inside a moving car, and then after that, oh, it looks like Jenny finally came around and ruined the mood. Pay close attention to the special characteristics portion of this poster. Notice how she had a tattoo of a cross on her left wrist. Keep that in mind. In the next scene, we are shown a group of people casually walking down a sidewalk at night. It's unclear if the cameraman is with them or just trailing behind them with the camera while breathing through his mouth. Suddenly, we can hear what sounds like a combination of a goat and a man hollering in the distance. That was just my interpretation, at least. Our cameraman is now filming in the woods, and we can hear that there's a group of people with him in the background. They are then seen driving past a sign. Based on what little I could make out, it seems to be a memorial for a Confederate quarantine hospital called Lynchburg's Pest House that was around during the time of the Civil War before being demolished. And this is actually a real place, by the way, if you go ahead and look it up. Not that you will, of course. But this isn't any ordinary pest house, of course. No. It also has a cemetery, so it's supposed to be scary. We are then suddenly jump scared by another missing persons poster, but there's something off about this one. I can't quite put my fingers on it, but there's just something's not quite sitting right with me here. Also, please take note of the fact that she also had a tattoo of a cross on her left wrist. Oh, these are some Jesus-loving women right here. The next missing persons photo to appear is this one. On this one, notably more distorted than the last, we see that the last thing she was seen wearing was shame. Relatable. And then she also had a tattoo of a cross on her left wrist. Next, some text appears on the screen. We trusted you. Heaven is not yours. Nope. I'm not even gonna try with that one. After that lovely little message from our sponsors, the cameraman is then seen filming outside of a small church. You are not welcome here. Well, if I wasn't welcome here, then why make the screen on your side window so easy to pop off, huh? Yeah, why leave your front door unlocked then? And why did the doormat say welcome on it? This next video is titled 3rd Grade Graduation 1994, and I can only hope that's actually what we're going to get this time. And of course the description reads, they worked together. The cameraman walks up to what appears to be a school. He walks inside and films some of the rooms while people can be heard chatting in the background. After filming part of the school library, the words "it wasn't here" flash momentarily on the screen. The words "I begged you" can be seen next, and well, why don't I just play out this next part for you?
Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction. Happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infamies and dashes them against the rocks.
Now, I know it might have been hard to hear, but that last part where the deep voice starts talking is actually a Bible verse. Specifically, Psalms chapter 137, verses 8 through 9. It says the following: Daughter of Babylon, doomed to destruction, Happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Don't you just love digging into the Bible? Don't you just love digging into the Word? Oh, maybe that was what Bible study was about. Maybe they talked about that Bible verse. That would have been fun. Bring the kids for that one, huh? More words can be seen on the screen here, where the camera appears to be filming a neighborhood at night. I won't come home again, but only you know why. Static momentarily flickers across the screen, and for a brief moment we can see a distorted image of what appears to be a child. I'm sorry, I just really love the top comment on this video, and I just wanted to point it out. The kids are growing up so fast! You guys must be so proud! That's probably one of the people running the church or some shit. This next video is titled Grandma's House, 1995. Yay. Woohoo. Yeah. With the words, she laughs at us in the description. The very first frame in this video shows us, Grandma's house. Actually, various angles of Grandma's house, just to make sure we're really getting the message here. The screaming, it never stops. Now we get to see the inside of Grandma's house, where we can really inhale the scent of rotting corpses properly. Notice how there's trash all on the floor, and everything just seems to be in a general state of disrepair. At this point, we can hear what sounds like footsteps and glass breaking. Meanwhile, the rooms seem to get creepier and creepier, just like a real Grandma's house. This is my body. This is my blood. It's not enough. I was never enough. And here we can hear the sounds of flames and screaming women and children. Yeah, I think it's time to send Grandma to the nursing home. Now it's time for Christy's baptism, with the appropriately themed description, "My children are missing." The first portion of the video shows someone driving down a road at night. Right before the scene changes, something briefly flickers on the screen. Even after enhancing the image, it's really hard to tell what we're looking at, but to me it resembles a child's drawing. Next, we can see that the driver has pulled over onto a dirt patch of road and left on their hazard lights. They walk across a bridge and into the woods, where they stumble upon an abandoned white house. Once inside the house, they make sure to create as much stomping noise as humanly possible to awaken the deranged serial killer living beneath the floorboards. Based solely on the small stage at the front of the room, I'm assuming that this building used to be some sort of church back in its heyday. Eventually, some more text appears on the screen. Who's there? I can't talk to strangers. In between these text appearances, the cameraman is still stomping around like a Neanderthal. Where are we going? Another image appears for a few seconds on the screen here, and it appears to be another child's drawing. While it's hard to make out, if you look very closely in the bottom left corner, you can see what looks like the words, "Dwayne is bad." Then this happens, and I don't really know how to summarize it, so I'm just gonna play it out here. Guy returns to the cemetery once more, and we are shown more text. "You can hear me. I have been made pure." After this, we can hear what sounds like a child screaming, "Help me, mommy." And then immediately after, she starts shrieking, "I have seen God. I want to go home." And last but not least, we are shown another reference to Dwayne. The words, "Dwayne is watching," are shown written in a child's handwriting. Imagine if this whole thing just ends up being a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson analog horror, and we were being fooled this whole time, like the cowards we are. This video focuses on a group of people setting up a Scaremare maze. If you guys don't know, a Scaremare is basically a haunted trail or haunted house attraction, but make it Jesus themed. They're essentially designed to make people more scared of going to hell by being representations of hell itself. The cameraman decides to guide himself through the maze, which is really fucking funny to me, because for the most part, we literally can't see shit. He's just all like, "Whoa, look at this." He's just holding his camcorder, pointing it into the abyss. "Yeah? You see that? Do you like that? Is it good? You like what you see? And after all that filler, we finally get a real jump scare. A frame of a doll seemingly covered in dirt appears on the screen, and this is the text that follows. You're about to be born. Are you prepared? Well, never mind that dirt I mentioned from earlier. I'm pretty sure it's just covered in blood. Yeah, that sucks. What did you see? After walking around and getting some more up-close shots of the trash bags on the walls, we get another message. You made me an angel. You are the devil. The beginning part of this video starts out with yet another heavily muffled Bible verse. This one actually comes from the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verses 5 through 8. If anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and devours their enemies. This is how anyone who wants to harm them must die. They have power to shut up the heavens so that it will not rain during the time they are prophesying, and they have power to turn the waters into blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. Now when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss will attack them and overpower and kill them. Their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, where also their Lord was crucified. Now, what this verse is referring to is that supposedly there will be witnesses that will prophesy against the Antichrist during the end time. So they're prophesying on God's behalf, and they have all of these supernatural powers. But of course, none of that matters because the devil is just going to publicly crucify them anyways, which in my opinion just seems like wasted potential. I mean, why would you give them anime powers if they're just gonna die? I don't really get that. That kind of sucks, actually. Jesus Christ. The whole time the cameraman is seen walking around outside in the dark, clearly having not learned his lesson because we still can't see shit. At this point, we can now see clearly, and the cameraman is inside the house from before. While filming outside the window, a slowed down old-timey song starts to play, and we can see the words, "Do you see it? Do you hear it? Was it worth it? They're rotting. And it's your fault." And by the way, all while this is happening, you can hear muffled whispers and a woman screaming. Hollow apologies. Now, the whispers have gotten a lot louder at this point, and it just sounds like the most normal ASMR video ever, to be honest with you. What you will do. I don't know if that was a typo, and I don't know if they meant what will you do, but I'll just leave it that way for now. Can you forgive yourself? Dude literally walked into this creepy-ass house and thought to himself, you know what would be good? Walking into this creepy-ass basement and turning all the lights off. That would be good. So that's exactly what he does, and at a certain point we can hear what sounds like footsteps above him, and I'm just gonna leave you guys alone with your thoughts on this one. After that very heartwarming message from the Lord, we are shown a woman walking over towards some railing. I can't tell if that's a tattoo of a cross on her arm, but if it is, then Jesus fucking Christ, we've hit a bombshell, people. Next, the camera can be seen, I think, being dragged around on the ground, almost from the perspective of a dead body being dragged through the woods. And then we can hear a very moist sound. It almost sounds like chewing, almost like someone is being eaten. Not that I would know what that sounds like, of course. And then right as the word help flashes on the screen, the video ends. It's time for what the fuck is going on? My favorite part of the video. Well, like always, we're gonna need to start at the beginning. Remember that strange phone call that the protagonist had with an unknown friend? And the fact that random pieces on the outside of the house were clearly being tampered with, and also the fact that no one has lived in that house for years, indicates that there are some very deeply rooted issues specific to the community that they're living in. Shocker, I know. And it's not just limited to this family that's just now moving in. Also, the mention of a church during the phone call was definitely no coincidence. And the fact that the grandmother specifically recommended that church isn't a coincidence either. Now, this might be a very obvious and lame take on my end, but I personally believe that this isn't any ordinary church. No, rather I believe it's a cult that specifically sacrifices young women and girls. And I believe that the grandmother is somehow a member of this cult and potentially the grandfather as well. The fact that all the missing women had tattoos of a cross on their left arm could indicate that these were members of the same cult that were for some reason offered up as a sacrifice. Now, as far as whoever the fuck Dwayne is, I'm a little uncertain on that one. But based on the dialogue and the drawings that appeared in the Christy's baptism video, we know that he is likely the one responsible for the children's disappearances at the bare minimum. Also, in the 3rd grade graduation video, there's a very interesting remark made about if you pick up the phone, the devil will answer. So perhaps this is hinting at the fact that the guy that the protagonist was talking to on the phone earlier was actually Dwayne. But I could be stretching that a bit, not sure. A second theory that I had kind of sitting in the back of my head, and I'm not really too confident on, is the fact that this could be some sort of representation of the rapture, a very loose interpretation at that. The reference made to the book of Revelation and, people going missing, and the fact that the tattoos of the cross could be a representation of the mark of the beast is what kind of got me thinking in that direction. But after thinking about it some more, I'm not too certain. There's a couple of issues with that theory. Because if this really was the rapture, then why are only young women and girls being taken? And then if that were the case, there wouldn't have been a couple that went missing long before these people moved in, indicating that this has been going on for a while now. So that's kind of what caused me to stray away from that idea just a little bit. So at this point in time, I personally think that the most likely case scenario is that there is a cult running the town and that the grandmother lured her family into this situation. But again, my opinion will likely change in the future as this series is still very much ongoing. Another reason why I feel very strongly about the, grandmother having something to do with it is the fact that in the grandmother's house video, if you look at the description, it says something along the lines of, she's laughing at us, right? I 100% believe that she intentionally lured her family into this cult for whatever reason. There's also hints of cannibalism mentioned in that video as well, and also in the very last video on the channel. In the grandma's house video, you can see the words, "This is my body, this is my blood," appear over a room with some sort of dining table, I'm assuming. And then in the very last video, you can hear what sounds like chewing, and I mentioned before that it almost sounds like someone being eaten. And of course, the words "help me" appearing at the end certainly don't make things seem any brighter, let me just tell you that. So, a cannibalistic, woman-hating Jesus cult. What else is new? But why? Why are they doing this? As if there would be a logical explanation to that, but still, why? That is a little uncertain to me, but if you remember the verse mentioned earlier, Psalms chapter 137, verses 8 through 9, you might have noticed that the whole verse is essentially talking about wiping out any enemy of God, including their children. So I guess somehow these women and children were viewed as enemies of God, but for what reason, we don't really know at this point. Also, the inclusion of the pest house, that was never really elaborated on in the series yet, but maybe that's just because I'm not from Virginia, so I don't really know a whole lot about the local history. So if anyone is more familiar with the pest house and wants to share more details on that, maybe you have a theory in regards to that, please let me know in the comments section. I would love to hear it. And any other opinions and theories are welcome too, as always. And of course, please make sure you guys show all the love and support to the creator of this series. It's phenomenally made. I personally found it very immersive and believable. It's truly doing its part to be as authentic as possible. So definitely give it a watch in its entirety. And as always, thanks for watching.